Hello lovely people, John Siddique here. It's really nice to catch up with you. I have not stopped for a couple of weeks. I've been working weekends and everything, just trying to get everything done. It's the time of year where if you're self-employed you've got to do your tax, and then I was on a training course at the weekend and sort of working in between. So this minute is my first sitting down probably in, I don't know, 20 something days or something like that, with a proper kind of actual stop. There's a bit in Bruce Chatwin's book, The Songlines, I don't know if you know it, where he talks about it's not guides that he was using, but there was kind of this sort of a great white gentleman, shall we say, who was trying to get some Aboriginal guides to in Australia to take him somewhere, and they reached this particular place and then just sat down and refused to move. And so he offered them double money, and he offered them quadruple money, and then he offered to beat the crap out of them, of course, and nothing would move them. And the reason that they wouldn't move, they say, is because they needed time for their souls to catch up with their bodies. And I'm kind of there. But I just wanted to make a quick video, maybe about 10 minutes or so, I think, because I promised you some writing prompts a couple of weeks back, and I just haven't had time to do that. And what I thought I would do is I would go over the rules of writing practice with you, or the guidelines for writing practice, because this is something I do a couple of times a week to keep myself hot, as it were, to keep myself writing, even if I'm not working on a book or anything like that. And then I've come up with 5 prompts for you. So, I probably won't. I'm going to have a month off now, really, from everything. I've just been working like crazy. So I may not check in with you for until sometime kind of early in January. So you might want to use these over that time, give yourself a bit of time, space and reflection. So I've got my green juice, I've got my journal in front of me, and I've got my pen. And so I just want to kind of talk you through these. And of course, those of you who write already, you're going to recognize the basic idea behind these, because they come from Natalie Goldberg's Writing Down the Bones, which is a kind of like a standard book on creative writing courses, but also one of the greatest books ever on kind of actually getting into kind of personal writing and kind of starting to find your way, bypassing the internal censors and things. So if you need suggestions for a Christmas present, I couldn't recommend anything more highly than a present to yourself of Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg. If one of my books finds its way into your pile as well, that would be super lovely. But Natalie because I've borrowed these from here, I really need to kind of say these are where they're from. These are not mine. I've altered them very, very slightly because I work with a charity called First Story sometimes, and they're secondary school kids here in the UK, and they're all kind of very gifted, and so we meet once a week, and I run a writing workshop for them. So these are the rules of writing practice. There's some people talking outside, so if you hear some murmuring in the background, that's what it is. But this is the only slot that I've got to talk to you. So basically, you open your journal. I would suggest that you go for 10 minutes, do a timed writing so that you can just kind of let go into it. And it doesn't really matter what you write about. You may need to have a starting line, in which case you could just grab a line from a book, put your finger down on a random line in a newspaper, take a line out of a poem that you've already written, and then just continue. If you're working on something, maybe just write around a character or a theme or something like that. But the whole point behind this is once you start writing, you don't stop, and this is kind of guideline number 1. So you keep your hand moving. But in order to do that, we think that writing is about thinking about things and then putting it down, and there's a time to be considered, by all means, usually in the editing phase more than anything else. But because editing is really writing. Writing itself is often the generation of things, or finding out what we don't know or what it is that we want to say properly anyway. So once you start, you don't stop, you keep your hand moving. And if you get stuck, you write I remember. In fact, you write I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember, until something kind of moves through the body and comes to the page. If you're a contrary person like I am, I've found great material by writing the words I don't remember. I don't remember the time when, I can't remember a time when, or something like that. It brings out the kind of slightly darker side of things, and it really opens stuff up. Nobody's ever going to see this. This is in your journal unless you choose to share. So be specific. Use real names, real details. Don't say tree, say cherry tree, or ash, or oak. Don't say car, say Buick, or Mini, or Jaguar, or, whatever, my piece of shit Hyundai, or whatever kind of thing, But real details, name things. And if you don't know the names of things, then use this as an opportunity to find out. I think writing sometimes is the art of finding out the names of things and just putting them down cleanly. Whilst being specific, we also have to lose control and let go into the writing. You'll probably find after about 8, 9, 10, 12 lines, something like that, the froth kind of goes from your head, and you say to yourself, right, that's it, I'm done now, I've finished. And you come to this place of, empty. And that's when you're just about to start writing. So that's when you kick in with the I remember, I remember, I remember. But what you don't do is you don't read back to try and find your way forward. So lose control. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. For number 4, don't worry about your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar. That's going to kick the internal editor in. If you do type this up, that's the time to sort it out. And you sort that out by speaking out loud as you type up, and then printing out and reading back to yourself out loud. Number 5, you are free to write absolute junk. You are also free to write the greatest piece of writing ever. But you won't know what it is until it's years down the line, really, a lot of the time. Greatness comes later. Just turning up at the page is the only thing that matters, a few times a week, And if we do that, then things come. And then this is my own personal guideline to myself. Have the courage to commit to yourself and your practice. That is the big thing. Just have the courage to turn up. And you may not know what you want to write at all when you sit down, but just go for it. I remember, I don't remember. Look out the window. In fact, here's some prompts for you to carry you through the next little period should you need them, but I'm sure you can come up with some stuff of your own. So here's 5 prompts for you. So number 1, the biggest lie I ever told is, and of course nobody's ever going to see this, so you can write a truth about telling a lie, or of course you can tell a lie about telling a lie, and that would be interesting either way. You could write the story of your name, where it came from, who you're named after, what you think about your name, whether you've got any nicknames, what your relationship to it is, how it serves you, how other people talk about your name, how it is to be called by name when you're out down the street, 3 things that you can't live without. That would be a fabulous thing. I like lists, actually. So the next 2 are lists. So yeah, 3 things that you can't live without, and talk about why that is, and what life would be like without them. And 100 things that you love. Of course, in 10 minutes, that's going to be a very, very quick 100 things. Each of these writing prompts, if you want to go for longer, of course, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, do that. Go to a coffee shop, get a nice whatever to drink, or go to a juice bar or whatever. Get your notebook out and go, or make a writing date with a friend and both do something. And then you can share with each other after or not, but just meet almost in silence and then kind of go from there. And then my final one for you, since we're coming up to Christmas, and it's the time of schmaltzy emotional television, which we all love from time to time, finding spiritual solace where you would not expect to find it. For example, in a kind of TV show. I'm a huge fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the remade Battlestar Galactica. I find a lot in those, actually. Comic books, a magazine that you're reading in a doctor's surgery, a billboard as you're driving down the road with just the right thing written on it, or a van that goes past. So something that speaks to you when you least expect it. So I hope I wasn't too rushed, because I've been rushing and rushing and rushing, so I'm probably going 100 miles an hour. So you might need to watch this video a couple of times to be able to write things down. But here's my very best to you. And I hope you have a fantastic Christmas and a great New Year, or however you celebrate this holiday time. I personally like to kind of go off with my partner and just kind of be near sea or up a mountain or in the woods. I don't really get caught up with the other stuff, as it were. So we just do it the way that we do it. That's it. With as much love in our hearts as we can muster, if we have the courage to. So bless you. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the blog. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, you just search for my name, John Siddique, and there you go. Have a brilliant time. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.